For years, the Scourge was dormant, Icecrown was quiet, Naxxramas floated in eerie stillness. But now, the drums of undeath beat again. This is not a simple return to Northrend. This is the escalation of a story that has been unraveling for decades. With the war within underway, and the last Titan looming, we are beginning to see the pieces fall into place. Scarlet Crusade activity in Dragonblight, chaos confirmed in Tyr's final questline, and cryptic clues scattered through in-game texts and data-mined dialogue. Today, we're pulling it all together. From the fall of Bolvar's control to the void-touched blood beneath Icecrown, this is everything you need to know about the Scourge's return and who might be behind it. The World Soul Saga's final act is called The Last Titan, and it's no accident that its setting is steeped in the cold breath of death. We've seen the pattern, and whether through chaos, shadow, or zealotry, it's becoming clear. The Scourge's story isn't over. When Sylvanas shattered the Helm of Domination, she didn't just end a crown, she broke the leash. Bolvar's grip slipped. The Scourge, once corralled by sheer will, scattered into feral warbands. And though they are scattered and disorganized, they are far from harmless. The Shadowlands pre-launch event showed us what that chaos looked like, but Blizzard didn't close the book there. Post-Jailer material, including in-game books and quests, confirm it. The undead threat hasn't vanished, and it looks like it's about to get much worse. Enter Northrend. One of the first signs came during the Death Rising event. The Scourge attacked the Shadow Vault, catching the Ebon Blade off guard. Duke Lancrol, forced from his post, rallied champions of the Horde and Alliance to push back. The players were a big part of that. That fight wasn't a throwaway, it was a reset. A demonstration that undead forces are more coordinated than we assumed. Lancrol's success reclaimed the vault, but even now, sources describe it as vulnerable. If Blizzard staged that moment as a warning, then it worked. They were preparing us to see the Scourge differently. The next sign came from Dragonflight. The Tyr's Guard questline ends with a striking line. Your character asks if Tyr will address the chaos in Northrend. Not war, not unrest, chaos. That word is deliberate. In Exploring Azeroth, Northrend, we're told that Naxxramas still floats, untouched and waiting like it's holding its breath. The Shadow Vault, once a symbol of Death Knight's strength, has been compromised. The Ebon Blade, without a unified mission, is scattered and somewhat leaderless. And Winterguard and other border towns lie exposed, defensible, but only barely. And it gets worse. The Bronzebeard brothers, Muradin, Braun, and Magni, toured Northrend after the events of Shadowlands. What they found wasn't peace, it was a quiet rot. They describe regions where people vanish without a trace, where the winds carry whispers, and where Sauronite still seeps through the stone. Something ancient is stirring beneath the ice, something not yet returned, but no longer sleeping. And the longer it waits, the more it watches. And I know what you're thinking, so what if the Scourge returns? Who or what could lead the Scourge now? The Lich King is gone. The Helm of Domination lies shattered. But the Scourge still moves. If they are moving with direction, if the undead are rising in organized waves again, then someone or something is pulling the strings. The question is, who? So let's follow the breadcrumbs. Now, Blizzard could always decide to bring in someone new, but there are a few names that are still influential to the Scourge, so let's go through them. The first is Baron Rivendare, specifically Titus. Rivendare was never confirmed dead. In fact, his last major appearance was as one of the Four Horsemen in Wrath of the Lich King. After Naxxramas was raided, he disappeared from the narrative entirely. But then comes a peculiar detail. In the Legion Paladin Mount questline, we learned that his son, Aureus, had been laid to rest, only for his body to vanish. No grave, no signs of desecration, only a battle with a Death Knight who vanished without a trace. Some believe that Titus himself took the body. If true, it raises chilling questions. What does a Death Knight father want with the body of his redeemed son? Resurrection? Corruption? Reclamation? In Northrend, Naxxramas still floats above the Plaguelands like a tombstone waiting for an epitaph. And Rivendare, once loyal to Kel'Thuzad, once the face of noble corruption, may be more than just a relic. He could be a harbinger. Number 2 is Kel'Thuzad. Many believe Kel'Thuzad to be finally and truly dead, destroyed in Shadowlands after pledging himself to Zovaal. But liches, and particularly Kel'Thuzad, have a habit of returning. Kel'Thuzad was the architect of the Cult of the Damned. He forged the Scourge's ideological spine, undeath as servants, as transcendence, as a gift. Even in death, his legacy echoes through every Scourge faction. So, did he leave behind a successor, a final contingency, a fragment of his will embedded in necrotic magic? If a new leader rises bearing his teachings even without his name, it would not be without precedent. Number 3 is Mal'Ganis. The Dreadlord who haunted Arthas' fall is still alive. Last seen in Revendreth, Mal'Ganis escaped the events of Shadowlands with his loyalties unresolved. His cryptic words, "I serve a higher power than Zovaal," should not be forgotten. Mal'Ganis has always played the long game. He corrupted, subverted, and manipulated from the shadows. If the Scourge are rising again, and if they're being unified, his hand may be one of the ones weaving the web, especially if the Naxxramas have taken a renewed interest in death. Number 4 is Denathrius, and the Naxxramas. Sire Denathrius, creator of the Dreadlords, escaped his mirror prison. The Naxxramas, masters of infiltration and cosmic subterfuge, may now be operating as free agents. If they return to Death's domain, they may be interested in rebuilding or reinventing the Scourge. Imagine a new army of undeath, not as cannon fodder, but as tools of cosmic manipulation, loyal not to a crown, but to a master plan. Denathrius may yet see Azeroth as a battlefield worth infecting. Number 5 is Helya. Long thought defeated, Helya still rules Helheim. Her reach is long, and her mastery of necromancy is undeniable. She once allied with Sylvanas and made a deal with the Valkyr. She once forged the Kvaldir, her own brand of seafaring undead. If Helya has any interest in the material world again, reasserting control over the Scourge, or something like it, would be the perfect move. She's a wild card, a queen of the dead, and a force of vengeance still unspent. And then there's 6, the Whisperer, Yogg-Saron. Now, Yogg-Saron is canonically dead, but like all old gods, death is a flexible concept. His blood, Saronite, still flows beneath Icecrown, poisoning the land and the minds of those who dwell there. In Wrath of the Lich King, his presence was everywhere, from the maddened miners of the Pit of Sauron to the whispers that bleed through Icecrown Citadel's halls. Developers once stated that they intended to draw a stronger connection between Yogg-Saron and the Lich King, but never fully implemented it. The groundwork is still there, and now, with Xal'atath on the move, another fragment of the Void Lord, it is possible that she seeks to resurrect or amplify Yogg-Saron's influence to use the Scourge as her instrument. And then, there's another piece of the puzzle. You've likely noticed that the Scarlets are back. The Scarlet Crusade, long thought scattered and broken, has returned, and not quietly. Now entrenched in New Hearthglen, the Crusade is launching organized assaults on Forsaken territory, including teleporting reinforcements during the events of recent quests. This suggests not only a stable infrastructure, but also an active recruitment and logistics operation rooted in Northrend. Their resurgence isn't isolated, it's strategically timed. The chaos left in the wake of the Scourge's uncontrolled rise has created a climate of fear and desperation, especially in remote settlements like Winterguard. And where fear blooms, the Scarlet Crusade offers the same false salvation they always have: purity through eradication. But there's more at play than old zealotry. Admiral Barian Westwind, once possessed by a Dreadlord, was their Northrend commander. If Dreadlords like him have returned, or never truly left, the Crusade again could be a front for Naxxramas manipulation. Additionally, the light-infused undead seen at the end of the Forsaken Heritage questline and in the War Within's Priory of Sacred Flame dungeon suggests something worse: a possible alliance or ideological convergence with the Arathi Empire, whose Orion fanatics resemble the Lightbound from alternate Draenor. And with Scourge activity flaring across the continent, their mission is now framed as righteous. To many frightened civilians, they are no longer extremists, they're protectors. The Scarlet Crusade thrives in uncertainty, positioning themselves as the only shield against undeath. But like always, their methods are brutal, their doctrine corrupted, and their leadership possibly subverted by shadows. And like I said, their re-emergence isn't just a callback, it's a strategic escalation that may intertwine with every major cosmic thread. As the Scourge rises and the light grows more militant, the Scarlet Crusade stands ready to fan the flames of a holy war. And in other parts of Northrend, Naxxramas has never fallen. Not truly, not completely, though Kel'Thuzad was destroyed, twice if you count Shadowlands. The necropolis he once ruled from still hangs silently over Northrend, untouched, unmoved, and ominously present. In exploring Azeroth, Northrend, Mirrodin Bronzebeard observes it still floats over the old keep, describing it as if it's waiting for something. That wording isn't idle flavor text, it's deliberate. Blizzard uses authorial intent to suggest potential energy, suspense, a chess piece that hasn't moved yet. But what does it mean that Naxxramas is still aloft? Who powers it? Such a fortress doesn't float without incredible arcane and necromantic energy. Who maintains it? The Scourge is no longer centrally commanded, yet something keeps this citadel sustained. Why hasn't it been taken down? The Argent Crusade, the Ebon Blade, even the Kirin Tor, all have had time and means, and yet nothing. This is Kel'Thuzad's legacy. He may be gone, but his creations endure. We've seen liches return from ash before, we've seen Dominion magic resurface in new forms. If anything of Kel'Thuzad remains, a phylactery, a fragment, a disciple, Naxxramas could still serve as a command center for the next iteration of the Scourge. And even without its master, Naxxramas itself is a weapon. Its presence wraps the land beneath it. Its structure brims with death magic and forbidden relics. If a new leader were to seize it, whether Rivendare, Mal'Ganis, or even a new void-aligned force, they wouldn't have to build anything. They'd just descend. With that in mind, you have to ask, is Naxxramas a dormant threat? Or a sentinel waiting for its next master? And when it moves again, will we be ready? And what of the Scourge's new philosophy, or means of control? The Scourge we once knew were bound by domination, enslaved to a singular will through Frostmourne, the Helm, and the terror of the Lich King. But with those chains shattered, a darker question arises. What happens when undeath is no longer enforced, but chosen? Without a helm to command them, the undead may begin to want something. Not sustenance, not rest, but meaning. In a world torn apart by cosmic war and broken promises, the Scourge may evolve, not into a hive, but into a movement. We've seen that before with the Forsaken. They all broke free of the Lich King's control and regained mental clarity, so who's to say that couldn't happen again? A death cult built on grief and vengeance, a priesthood of undeath, a banner for those who see life as corruption and undeath as purity. These are all things that could give the new Scourge purpose. Some may rally beneath Baron Rivendare, clinging to the old ways, re-establishing order through fear and tradition. Others may be seduced by Helia, offering passage not into torment, but into her vision of balance through necromantic dominion. Still others could fall under the sway of new faiths, the fanatical Lightbound, the ever-lurking Naxxramas, or even the Whispers of the Void. This new Scourge won't necessarily march in mindless obedience. They might preach, or recruit, or sacrifice. They won't just be monsters. It's very possible they might be ideology made flesh, a creed of undeath rising from the ashes of every fallen soldier, every betrayed soul, and every disillusioned survivor who finds no more comfort in life. And that should terrify us more than any mindless horde ever did. Or perhaps they will remain mindless, but pliable. They were already subject to one will, so could Yogg-Saron still influence the Scourge? Though defeated and sealed beneath Ulduar, Yogg-Saron's tendrils of madness have never fully receded. His blood, Saronite, remains laced throughout Icecrown Citadel, whispering despair to any who draw near. It was used not just in armor and weapons, but in the very foundation of the Scourge's stronghold. Miners and smiths alike reported hearing voices while working with it, some descending into madness. This is not random corruption, it is the residue of a cosmic mind still reaching outward. In Wrath of the Lich King, this link was hinted at repeatedly. The Citadel is built from Yogg-Saron's blood, and subtle audio layering places his theme music beneath the Lich Kings in parts of Icecrown. Players long suspected a connection between death magic and the Void, and they were right to. Developers have since commented that certain threads of Wrath's story, particularly the deeper relationship between the old gods and the Scourge, were intended but never fully explored. Blizzard creatives hinted in Q&A panels and interviews that they wanted the old gods to be more tied into Northrend's story, and Chris Metzen himself once noted that death magic, void corruption, and the Titan's failures are all tangled together in ways we haven't fully explored yet. Now, in the wake of Shadowlands and the rise of Xal'atath, that thread may finally be pulled. If Xal'atath remains active after midnight, her ambitions may include reawakening Yogg-Saron's influence, not to free him, but to use his madness. The Scourge, infused with death and steeped in Saronite, could be the perfect vessel for Yogg's whispers to return. With no helm to bind them and no king to restrain them, the Scourge may be drawn to the old god's call once more. If this is the path Blizzard is building toward in The Last Titan, then the return of the Scourge isn't just about necromancy or domination, it's about madness wearing the skin of death. The Scourge didn't die, they went quiet, they waited. But in The Last Titan, the wait is over. This isn't a rehash of old threats, it's the return of death as ideology, fueled by chaos, broken systems, and ancient power left unchecked. Blizzard is laying the groundwork for something bigger than a plague, something with purpose. The signs are there, the dead are stirring, and the last Titan rises soon. If you want to see the pattern before it becomes prophecy, subscribe to Crypt Milk, and stay one step ahead of the grave.